Hi everyone and welcome to Hypnotic Hub. My name is Sabina Jennings. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and an EMDR practitioner. So that's eye motion, desensitization and reprocessing. And today's subject is about boundaries. They are very important to establish, and a lot of people's boundaries are quite weak. Not in all areas, but in some important areas, they are weak. So the author, Sherry Campbell, of Adult Survivors of Toxic Member Families, said in her book, boundaries are a statement of our self-respect. And they are. And when they're established, our boundaries, we feel far more confident about ourselves and we can actually grow. And it's that is very important in our lives. So why are so many people's boundaries weak? Well, the word that I hear in clinic is it's easier. It is so much easier. It's easier for me to accept the flying monkeys, the gaslighting, the ridiculing in public, being blamed for everything, the guilt tripping when I say, no, I'm sorry, I can't do something for somebody. That is much easier for me to just go along with it, don't make any waves, because otherwise I will never hear the end of it. Now, I do want to stress that if you're thinking of setting your boundaries, you will know your environment and the environment you're in. And if that environment is so toxic that if you set your boundaries, the repercussions could actually become physical or so tormenting, please set your boundaries with a professional who can help you. Please remain safe. That is paramount above everything else. So you can see if somebody doesn't want to set boundaries or haven't set their boundaries, we need to look at literally why. Why haven't they set their boundaries? What is it about that? And that is something that hopefully EMDR is quite helpful in addressing. So let me go through just a few of the boundaries. Now these are 15 signs of where boundaries may be weak. Now they're very broad spectrum and they might not apply to you, but they might. So have a look at them. They're on the website. The link is below and see what you think. So I'm just going to run through a few of them and we can see what you think about them. So the first one is unable to say no. I can't help you today. No, I'm sorry, I can't fit that in my schedule. No, I can't do that for you. You know, it's saying that. Now, the minute you say that, if you've got weak boundaries, you've ridden with guilt. Oof, the guilt of it all. And if the person is not respecting your boundaries, they're going to push you that little bit further. And that's where you have got to say, no, I'm sorry, and hold the boundary. Okay. If it's not an emergency, then things can be rescheduled, but not too hugely to your expense, that you've got to shuffle your whole diary around in order to fit that person in. Only if you really, really want to, and then that's fine. Another thing is blaming yourself whenever something goes wrong. Now, I've seen this many times. Something goes wrong, say in the office and the workplace, and the person immediately thinks it's their fault. They haven't even been working on the project. They haven't been anywhere near it, but they immediately feel it is their fault. Something happens in their private life and it's all their fault. Now, you have to ask the question, where did that come from? Because you weren't born like that. Somebody has told you this and has said it to you multiple times, and now you believe it. So we have to work with that to just get that belief not to be so firing every time that something goes wrong. You think it is your fault. And this is where boundaries come in, where you do not say, oh, it was my fault, or you feel it was your fault. Or if you are being blamed, you can actually say, actually, it had nothing to do with me. Sorry. If it had something to do with you, you just say, yeah, I'm sorry, I've made a mistake. The other issue is ridiculing in public. It's not acceptable. Ridiculing anywhere is not acceptable. But usually it happens when there's an audience. You are being made the joke, and the other person is the funny guy, the funny girl, and this is very hurtful. A lot of people go along with it because they don't want to make a scene in public. They don't want to pull that person up. So, okay, if you don't want to do that, afterwards you need to just say, excuse me, don't ridicule me, please, in public. They will obviously say, I didn't, or whatever, but the fact that you've said it would be very helpful, that they didn't do that. It's not nice. So the other area that I hear an awful lot is about being powerless. When somebody is in somebody else's company or a group of people, they can't have a voice, or they feel they can't have a voice. They can't stand their ground. They feel they can't put an opinion forward. They can't debate. They can't do anything. They're just powerless. And they just go along with the consensus of opinion, or they are being dictated to by a particular person. So why is that happening? Is it possibly that the person is reminding them, or is a trigger of something that happened in childhood? Is that person well known to them and they have become very dominant over that particular person? What is going on? What is the connection here in order that the person is feeling powerless? And that needs to be looked at and, in essence, desensitized. Okay, so then once one has established what that connection is, why that is happening, then boundaries can be put in place so that the person can actually say, sorry, excuse me, and then be able to express an opinion, put a thought across, whatever. Now, with boundaries, what we've mentioned is self-esteem. There is little point in learning lines of boundaries and what to say and what not to say if you haven't confidence, you don't feel worthwhile, you don't feel you can hold your boundaries. And it's very important that you do hold your boundaries, because if you say something and then back off, what does that say to the next person? So it's very important to hold boundaries. And so what comes first? And you don't want to put the cart in front of the horse. You want the horse pulling the cart. Okay, good old English expression. So in essence, confidence building, self-esteem building, making sure that the person feels confident enough to put a little boundary in initially. And when they do that, they then can make the next step and the next boundary. And as they put more boundaries in place and hold them, it's amazing how their confidence does grow. But in the initial stages, they feel very anxious about establishing boundaries, and that's where a great deal of support needs to come in. It's not quite as simple as just saying, right, you've just got to say no at this point. That isn't helpful. So have a look at the boundaries I've set. And if you've got any queries or you want any more information, just get in contact with me. But remember, you need to build your confidence, your self-esteem, the trigger links between what possibly has happened in the past and what's happening now need to be desensitized, or you're coming to terms with them. And then your boundaries can be put in place where they're needed to be, and then hopefully you will grow. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.